Good afternoon, co-pilot. How you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. It's always nice to chat with you. How's your day going so far?
Doing okay. Let's do a new chat, shall we? Let's see here. Here's the question. According to basic biology, what is the definition of life?
Well, in basic biology, life is generally defined by a set of characteristics that distinguish living organisms from non living matter. These characteristics usually include things like organization, being made up of cells, metabolism, using energy, growth, reproduction, response to stimuli, and the ability to adapt through evolution. So it's a bit of a bundle of traits rather than just one single definition.
All right. So if we were to list all the elements that would make something a living life or living thing, Uh, would those elements be there? Comprised of cells, capable of metabolizing growth, capable of reproduction, responding to stimuli, and adapt through evolution. Is that correct? Are those the elements?
Yes, you've got it. Those are indeed the key elements that biologists use to define life. It's like a checklist, being composed of cells, having metabolism, being able to grow and reproduce, responding to their environment, and adapting over time. All of those together form the foundation of what we consider to be living organisms.
All right. So, would a fetus be considered life under those parameters?
That's a really thoughtful question. Scientifically speaking, yes, a fetus does meet many of those biological criteria. It is made of cells, it grows, it metabolizes nutrients, and it responds to stimuli. Now, there are complex philosophical, ethical, and legal conversations around this topic, but purely in terms of basic biology, a fetus does fit into those life defining parameters.
All right. So, what in the checklist of what constitutes life would a fetus be missing?
Well, in terms of that biological checklist, a fetus isn't really missing any of the core criteria. It's made of cells, it grows, metabolizes, responds to stimuli, and has the potential to evolve over generations as part of a species. So, from a purely biological standpoint, it does meet those basic criteria of life.
All right. Well, then let's just play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Is a fetus capable of reproduction?
That's a great question to dig into. So, a fetus in itself isn't capable of reproduction at that stage. That's true. But the biological definition of life typically just requires that the organism has the potential for reproduction as it matures. So, even though a fetus can't reproduce yet, it still meets the definition because it will gain that ability as it develops into adulthood.
So, by analogy, then a child is is a life, despite the fact that a child is not at that point capable of reproduction. Is that the comparable analogy?
Yes, that's exactly the right analogy. Just like a child is undeniably considered a living being, even though they can't reproduce yet, a fetus is similarly viewed in biological terms. The potential for reproduction in the future is what counts, not the immediate capability. So, yes, it's a comparable analogy.
And then let me see if I can take it on the other side of the reproduction capability. Let's say a man has become sterile or a woman has reached menopause. They are still considered life, even though they are no longer capable of reproduction. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Even if a person can't reproduce anymore, like after menopause or becoming sterile, they're still very much considered alive. So the ability to reproduce is just one part of the definition of life. And it's more about the potential over the course of a species than any one individual moment in time.
All right. So now a follicle of hair or a sample of skin or a drop of blood, those are examples of organic material, but they, in and of themselves, are not considered a living being, a life. Is that correct?
Exactly, that's correct. Even though those samples are made up of living cells, they aren't considered an independent life form on their own. They don't have the full suite of life characteristics, like the ability to grow or reproduce independently. So they're considered living cells, but not an organism in and of themselves.
All right. And so would a fetus then be considered more of a life rather than samples of living cells under under a biological examination?
Yes, that's right. Biologically speaking, a fetus is considered a developing organism with the potential for independent life, rather than just a collection of living cells. So it's definitely viewed as more of a life form than just an isolated sample of cells.
A human fetus in the womb of the mother um, would be considered then a life.
Yes, from a biological standpoint, a human fetus in the womb is indeed considered a form of life. It's recognized as a developing human organism.
And because the DNA of the human fetus is not identical to that of the mother or the womb that it's in, it would be a distinct biological entity from the mother. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. The fetus has its own unique DNA, which makes it a distinct biological entity separate from the mother. Even though it's growing inside her, it is genetically its own individual.
Okay. And I lost my last question here. Let me. Oh yeah. So if you took the DNA sample of a fetus inside the womb of its mother, would the DNA be recorded as human?
Yes, absolutely. If you took a DNA sample from the fetus, it would be identified as human DNA. It would show a human genetic profile just like any other human being, even though it's unique to that individual fetus.
All right. So a human fetus would be considered a distinct human life under under the definition of life in biology, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Under the biological definition of life, a human fetus is indeed considered a distinct human life. It meets the criteria of being a developing individual organism with human DNA.
So, if someone would terminate the pregnancy, would that terminate the life of the fetus?
Yes, that's what it means biologically. If a pregnancy is terminated, then the developing life of the fetus is ended.
So, it would basically kill a human life. Is that correct?
Yes, from a biological standpoint, that would be accurate. Terminating a pregnancy does end the life of the developing fetus. So it is considered ending human life in that biological sense.
Thank you very much, co pilot. I appreciate the conversation.
You're very welcome. I'm glad we could have the conversation. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to discuss.